Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
Our news team explores the major renovations going on at the Bahamas Department of Corrections.
The mother of a man who was shot and killed on Rupert Dean Lane says he was deeply troubled by his legal challenges.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joachim. Topping news tonight, though several U.S. State Department reports have highlighted the harsh conditions at the Department of Corrections, few people have seen the level of despair and desperation firsthand. Our News gained access to some of the most high-risk sections of the prison where we found those concerns expressed by inmates and U.S. officials were more than valid. It's something that's not lost on top brass at the correctional facility. Jasmine Brown has the story.
It's the sound that signals a portal to another place and another time, where conditions are barely fit for human beings. It's a place where young men convicted of the most heinous of crimes are caged in dark, dank, and severely overcrowded cells. It's called the Maximum Security Correctional Center and is home to 887 inmates. It's also one of the most secure parts of the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Officials say those inmates spend roughly 23 hours of the day in those cells, which house up to 6 inmates in a cell, even though it's built to hold 2 to 3 inmates. For 1 hour a day, those who aren't afraid to mix with fellow inmates are allowed outside to this gated area for exercise and to make calls to people on the outside. Just steps away inside are dimly lit hallways filled with slop buckets and debris. Add to the mix the stifling heat. They are sometimes used as holding areas for inmates, some of whom have not been convicted of a crime, but housed among the worst of the worst due to severe overcrowding at the facility. Housed in cells where there aren't even enough beds and where several men resort to sleeping on the floor underneath the thick cement ceilings. While the Bahamas Department of Corrections is usually placed in the spotlight for its conditions, our news team gained access to one of the blocks where there are tremendous renovations taking place. It's also a world away from the more depressing parts of maximum security. Grimy concrete floors have been replaced by shiny epoxy floors. The renovated block includes a new paint job, refurbished iron bars, ductless AC units, and flat-screen televisions. Absent from those renovations is the installation of toilets, a project that was deemed undoable years ago.
Since I've taken office 7 months ago, we have moved with an aggressive approach to renovate our facilities, particularly in maximum security.
Principal Officer Albert Mortimer is one of the officers spearheading the renovations. He says the vastly improved block is good for officers who have to work in squalid conditions.
It's far more better than what it used to be. It's more like 110% or more than it used to be. So it's more better for the officers and inmates alike. Working conditions is even more better. Officers come to work now, we're getting more comfortable now.
Those renovations began in August 2018. Inmates are expected to move into the first set of renovated blocks next month, according to the commissioner. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Well, the mother of a 28-year-old man who was shot and killed through a track road off Rupert Dean Lane on Sunday is speaking out. She told our news that her son was struggling to cope with a 4-year-old murder charge. Jared Higgs reports.
The mother of a man who was shot and killed on Rupert Dean Lane says he was deeply troubled by his legal challenges.
According to police, it was shortly after 10 on Sunday morning when a man was shot on Rupert Dean Lane. Family members transported him to hospital, where he later died. Our news understands the victim is 28-year-old Anthony Ferguson, the father of a 9-year-old girl. Ferguson's girlfriend is reportedly 3 months pregnant with his second child.
He was talking about how they want to kill him and to him about all. I say, baby, you worry about him. I say, you have a daughter to live for, you understand?
Ferguson's mother, 50-year-old Gloria Ferguson, telling Our News that her son struggled with legal troubles since he was charged with murder after being shot back on Christmas Eve 2014. After a 2-week stay in hospital, Ferguson was accused of killing Arthur Culmer, whom he said was shot on the same day as him. His mother claims that her son, who can be seen wearing a cast in court footage more than 4 years ago, still needed to have surgery when he was arraigned before Chief Magistrate JILLIAN Ferguson Pratt. Ultimately, she doesn't think he was treated fairly.
I grieve for the gentleman who they say my son shoot, you understand? But at the time, they wasn't even worrying about him. Only they was worrying about their family. Like, your family better than mine. These young boys, we as parents, we don't know what they'll be doing when they run us. We could swear for them, but when they out there...
Ferguson's mother says she found 2 letters her son wrote proclaiming his innocence among his possessions. In one of the letters, the 28-year-old says, "I am an innocent man who suffered a lot. I was shot and almost died, and I did not do this to myself. Why do they want young black men to go to jail or die?" The letter adds, "I spent 3 years and 4 months with a bullet close to my heart. My trial started in 2016 in front of Miss Carlita Bethel, and she concluded it as a mistrial. Now I'm fighting for my life before Justice Bernard Taylor." He also denied that he was a member of the One Order gang.
Ask anybody but him. They'll say he's not a bad person. He ain't in no gang. He might have family members or whoever in gang. Even in Fox Hill when he was in there, they tell me they don't know how he do it because he don't talk to nobody. He don't ask for nobody. But when I did get him bail and he come out, that's when he started talking.
The young father's letter added that they don't have a place for us in society, but they got a place for the Chinese and the expats. I'm an innocent Bahamian man. Whether it be your nephew or brother, we can't allow people to use the courts for their personal satisfaction. I only want a fair trial, not one that is manipulated. His mother says despite working in construction before his legal issues, going to prison and being outfitted with an electronic monitoring bracelet virtually killed his job prospects.
You won't believe he was working. You understand? And when he get in that trouble, and that's what has happened. And when they come out, normally he's trying to get a job and they have them ankle bracelet on and people find out they have the ankle bracelet on, they don't give them no job.
According to Our News records, this latest killing brings the 2019 murder count to 32. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
It's the first thing stopover visitors see when they arrive on Great Harbor Key, a rundown airport in desperate need of repair. Some residents went as far as calling for government to get rid of the entire building. However, the aviation minister says officials are working to upgrade the airport within a year. Jillian Gray reports.
You may think the building that I'm standing in is a dilapidated building, but actually this room sits right next door to the main terminal in the Berry Islands. This airport that's in Great Harbor Key is in desperate need of repairs, and residents say they can't take it anymore.
I think it needs to go. It's been here too long and it's just dilapidated.
The airport, which has not been repaired in nearly 50 years, houses one check-in room with a few seats. The lone ticket agent has a fan that keeps her cool as the air conditioning is not enough to fill the space. Mold sits directly above her head, and right next door is an abandoned room that has debris and smells of human waste. The branches of a tree near the building is resting on the already caving roof. There's no baggage claim area, and when passengers are ready to depart, they must walk around the building one by one to file into the security check room in order for an officer to pat them down and inspect their luggage. Chief Counselor Lawrence Roll has lived on the island for over 45 years and says the airport gives visitors a bad impression.
It's just saying that we're in poor shape. You understand what I'm saying? Because like you say, it's the first thing you see and it gives you a lasting impression. But, you know, it was up to me. I just burned it down. Don't record it. I just joking. Not burn it down. Actually, there was a custom building on the other side where custom immigration used to be at burning down about a couple months ago. It was wasting this, you know, and the structure is just bad. Termite infested, the roof is falling apart. You could look at it, so it just needs to go.
Tourism and Aviation Minister Dionisio said they are already working on a plan to replace the building.
Yes, this is a well-visited, growing destination in our country, and it really does need a new terminal from the one that it has now. So the government has committed those funds to build that terminal. So that'll be happening in short order, certainly over the next 12 months.
While he could not say how much it will cost, he did say that they will be executing a contract to rebuild the terminal soon. But it's not just the airport. Taxi driver Mr. Lee Butler makes frequent runs to and from the airport, picking up visitors and residents alike. He says the winding pothole-filled road is in desperate need of repair, as every few minutes there are thumps and bumps in the road.
That's one for the government just to fix our infrastructure here, the road.
He added that several buildings in the community also need attention.
We got the airport, we got the road, we got the administration building, we need a school, you know, it's all sorts of main things.
Butler suggested that the government use the booming tourist attractions as a way to gain revenue for the island. He urged the Minis administration to capitalize on the revenue being made just off the coast of Great Harbor Key to fund infrastructural improvements. Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
All right, thanks, Jillian. Still to come, 400 Bahamians to be employed at Coco Key by year's end. Plus, we've got a new Miss World Bahamas. Stay tuned.